Hi everyone and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter and this is Connor.
Hey guys.
Alan couldn't make it, he was travelling this past week and it just happened to stretch over both this Monday and last Monday, so he's not had a chance to watch the show. But we're going to talk about 11/22/63, episode 7. It's called Soldier Boy. Full spoilers as always, although as I always reiterate with this show, just for the show, not the book. We've not read the book, so don't worry about spoilers for that. That said, I can't really say that next week as such, because next week it'll be the final, and presumably everything from the book will have...
Honestly, from what I've heard, it's diverged quite far from the book anyway.
Has it?
Just in passing comments, I haven't seen anything spoilery. Just people mention that it's quite different.
Ah, fair enough. So, yeah. So, I have a weird complaint about this episode, and it's not actually a complaint against this episode, it's more a complaint about the show as a whole. But this episode kind of pointed it out.
Go on.
The direction and the pacing in this episode was fantastic. And I feel like it's really made the last few episodes look bad as a result.
Yeah, it's made the last three, maybe, feel really sluggish.
And, because we really liked how it looked and what the direction was like in the first two episodes, or the first feature length. Actually, first two, because the second one... Because I remember we were worried after the first one that would just be the pilot and then it would dip in the second one, and it didn't, because the second one was the one where with the slaughterhouse and with the...
And that was fantastic.
And that was fantastic still. But it's kind of gradually dipped after that without us really immediately noticing it.
Yeah, it wasn't enough of a shift to immediately place it, but it's kind of feel like once we got to last week, it was like there's something different.
Yeah. But once this episode started, and I have some complaints about this episode on its own, kind of, but the way it kept coming up with 10 days till the assassination.
Yeah, it really built the tension.
Yeah, and it felt like, oh man, this is really moving and it feels like stuff's happening. And it really just made me think, you know what, we probably should have only had 6 episodes instead of 8.
I do feel like it was too many episodes. 8 plus the double length one at the start, so 9 really.
Yeah.
I feel like, 5, maybe 6 would have been better.
Yeah, and that's not to say that I would have, because I think it was good to have a quiet episode where they, like, Jake and Sadie grew close. I think we still needed one of those in the middle, but I think last week's was mostly, like, could have been dumped. You know, you could have condensed last week's and the maybe not the weeks before, because actually some of the weeks before as well. Even
there are bits from the last 3 you could probably chop into one episode.
Probably, yeah. So, complain about the season overall because of that, but at the same time, I'm praising the fact that this one had a really strong sort of direction and focus, and it felt like the plot was moving and it mattered again, because it's really felt like the JFK assassination has not mattered in like 4 weeks.
Yeah, we said it even last week that we were enjoying the stuff with him and Sadie, and like it was at the point where we were more into just seeing their characters than we were the plot, because it had kind of just been forgotten about that much that it didn't really have anything left to interest us.
Yeah, I think it is just a case of it being stretched out over too many episodes, maybe.
Yeah.
So I think 6 would have been a better choice. And then we wouldn't have had to have as much Bill, even though I kind of liked how his story ended in this one.
Yeah, I did, but then I feel like it just feels like, why did we need to go through all this?
I know, I agree with that, but something about the way he came out suicide, and because it kind of felt like time was just proper fighting back at this point. You know?
For the moment itself, it was fantastic, but it feels like he's been such an integral part for so long, but he hasn't actually done anything.
Nah.
And it just kind of feels like, why was he really there that much for all this time?
And again, that's something that if you'd cut this down to 6 episodes and you mostly cut out that character, then, you know, that could have worked out nicely. But hey ho. So my complaint about this episode, which is really a sort of extension from the last episode, although I didn't realise they were going to be doing this, was the beating from the end of the last episode is giving him amnesia.
Yeah.
Which is the sort of thing when you hear in a TV show, oh, someone's got amnesia, you immediately roll your eyes because it's such an overused plot device.
It kind of works a little bit in the 60s, though.
Yeah, like, it's the kind of thing where I felt like it worked a little bit more as it went on, because there was this countdown and they need to get him to remember. So it was kind of adding to the tension. But I do have to admit, in that, when it first became clear, oh, but he doesn't remember who he is or what he's here to do, I was like, oh, really? Like, it felt like a sort of a roadblock that is just there to make things more difficult.
It did, but I didn't mind it so much. I think it was because of the countdown that I didn't mind it.
Yeah, because I was moving through it quickly, and I guess it also kind of works because the whole idea is time pushing back.
Yeah,
So,
it's made him forget essentially.
so you can kind of explain it. So it didn't bother me as much as I thought it was going to when they first brought it up. When they first brought it up, I was like, oh no, amnesia.
Yeah, I was too.
So, well, but it worked fairly well. And the episode did have this sort of crunch countdown where it kept counting down to the day, and of course it ends. No, at the start of the episode, I thought it was going to end with it just coming up saying the date, and then it cut to the credits.
Yeah, I did as well.
Right, but then I started going through it really quickly. Like I felt like the first batch of days were going by really fast. I'm like, okay, wait, maybe not. Maybe we'll get further. Maybe we'll even get through the whole day, and then the last episode will be like
The aftermath and redoing things, perhaps.
yeah.
I was considering that as well.
That said, though, the moment they chose to leave on was actually quite good. It was just Lee Harvey Oswald, a couple of
Setting up.
hours before.
3.5, I want to say.
Yeah. Which I thought was weird. It came up saying 3.5 after it had just told us 4. I thought you could have just. There was really no reason to just have. You could have just cut from the previous scene with Jake and Sadie to him.
You could, but it was for that one last countdown moment, like shit, it's getting even closer. So it could come up black and really have that music cue that it had every time it came in.
Yeah. And even the direction was better in this one. The way the camera was sort of building the tension with the shots, and
I felt it right from the very start. When he's in the hospital, and it's like,
Yeah.
is he in the future? Is it like present even?
do you know what scene really I thought was directed well? It was the scene where Lee Harvey Oswald, he goes to is it the postal office,
Oh, and
he's completely at the counter, and he like breaks the pen.
yeah,
Well, just the way the camera sort of went down and lingered on where the
on the paper.
paper was. I
Yeah,
thought,
I really like that.
this is like way more cinematic than the last several episodes. This is
It feels like the first couple again.
yeah. So again, positive, but kind of a weird like retroactive complaint that the season's been kind of unbalanced in that sense
Yeah.
or inconsistent. But no, really enjoyed that. I liked the ending. Of course, Jake falls asleep and has a dream about the yellow card man. Weeping to him about not being able to save a girl. So
I'm torn on my opinion on what this means for the plot.
go on,
Like-
hit me with it.
Well, it's like, was it actually a dream, and was it actually sort of there, and it was like a weird time mess thing? And if that is the case, this is presumably an agent of time, like we have perhaps suspected in the past.
Agent of Time, because when he started talking before we realised it was a dream, or we were told it was a dream specifically.
It sounded like he was a time traveler.
Yeah, it sounded like he was also a time traveller who just had lost his mind, like after coming back through time and. Just
But then I'm
saying that.
thinking agent of time, and he was trying to, because after that conversation, Jake gives up,
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah,
and I feel like that was the intention. He was trying to make him realize the futility of it.
and Sadie talking him back into it's interesting.
Yeah,
That he's convinced someone from the past, which I don't. I mean, we said this when she first got told it was from the future. We thought she bought it a little bit too quickly.
yeah.
Not even a little bit. If anything, it was actually far too quickly. But we kind of went along with it just because we liked them together, and it was nice we didn't have the whole 2 episodes of her being like, "No, you're crazy," blah 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 blah. Oh, proof! My God, you're really from the future. We sort of enjoyed that they didn't do that dance, but it is interesting though how someone from the past has been convinced and talks them back into it.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, it makes me think that was actually an agent of time, and it was a trick to essentially make him not do it, but a much more subtle trick than the usual time bending stuff that he fights against.
yeah, like car not starting, which happened when they woke
Yeah.
up and stuff like that. Yeah. So, do you know what moment I like quite a bit actually? See when they're just about to leave the hospital, and Jake's trying to remember things, but he's getting things kind of messed up, and he says to the principal, "You're married to Miss Mimi," and I was like, "Oh, that's really poignant." Because we find out she's passed away from her illness
Yeah.
in this time, but it's also poignant because it's kind of socially incorrect for mixed race couples at this time, but we also know that she liked him.
Yeah.
Like, so every part of it was like 3 layers of like drama all going at the same
Clever
time.
dialogue.
Yeah, it was clever dialogue. I really liked that.
I agree.
So, nah, really good episode actually. The only real criticism is that it kind of just points out
Negates
the
the last
flaws,
few, yeah.
of the last several episodes, which is a shame.
Yeah, because it is one of the best episodes.
It is. No, I mean it's probably the best since episode 2.
Oh, easily. It might be better than episode 2 as well.
It may be. Episode 2 was more of a sort of slow, dark tension, whereas this was more of a countdown to,
Countdown to destruction.
yeah. Well, destruction of one person at least.
Yeah, it counts.
Alright, so that's episode 7 of 11/22/63.